The Chernobyl disaster occurred on April 26, 1986, and the events leading up to the explosion unfolded over the course of several hours. We will break down a minute-by-minute timeline of the accident. We begin on April 25, 1986, the day before the Chernobyl disaster. The Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant was preparing for a safety test scheduled for the next day. This test aimed to simulate a power outage and assess the reactor's cooling system. The reactor's power output had been reduced, but due to an unexpected increase in electricity demand, this reduction was halted. Throughout the day, there were technical issues and routine maintenance, leading to some safety systems being temporarily disabled. During the evening shift change, the new team of operators continued adjusting the reactor's parameters for the upcoming safety test. However, the test start was delayed due to technical problems, and the reactor's instability at low power levels raised concerns. These events collectively set the stage for the Chernobyl disaster. The unstable reactor conditions, coupled with the delayed safety test, contributed to the catastrophic events. April 25, 1986. 1 a.m., the reactor operators at the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant began preparing for a safety test. The reactor's power is reduced in preparation for the test. Following the next day, hoping to test whether during a power outage will the plant's spinning turbines produce sufficient power to keep coolant flowing over the reactor until the reactor generators kick in. 2 p.m., the safety test begins. Several safety systems are disabled, and reactor parameters start to deviate from the norm. However, the test is then put on hold to continue providing power to the area. At the request of the government, this will hand the reactor test off to a crew with less experience and little knowledge of the test prior to that day. 11 p.m., operators in the control room receive the go-ahead to begin the test. The night crew begins the test with no previous knowledge of how to conduct the test, working with notes that are highlighted but no guide on whether they have been done or need to be done. April 26, 1986. 12:28 a.m., the reactor's power output drops significantly, causing a reduction in cooling water flow. The reactor becomes unstable due to its design flaws. The reactor begins to stall. Operators begin to remove the control rods to raise power levels to no avail. Operators were unaware of the buildup from the reactor's 24 hours at half power not being able to properly burn off xenon gases, allowing them to build up past the point of no return. 1 a.m., the operators attempt to stabilize the reactor by raising all but 6 of the control rods. The reactor's power output starts to rise to a lower than normal power level. Supervisors order the test to be completed anyway due to pride in wanting to be the crew who was able to pull the test off. 1:23 a.m., the reactor's power surge leads to a massive increase in heat and steam generation. Pressure inside the reactor rises dangerously. The control rods could be seen jumping by the crew near the lid of the reactor. Operators put the emergency shutoff, plunging all the control rods into the reactor's core. In theory, it will slow the reactor down. However, this only acts as the match to the fuse. 1:24 a.m., the first explosion occurs, blowing off the reactor's lid and exposing the core. 1:26 a.m., a second explosion follows, rupturing the reactor's containment vessel. A plume of radioactive material is released into the atmosphere. The beam of radiation ionizing in the atmosphere can be seen from the city of Pripyat. 1:28 a.m., plant firefighters and emergency teams are mobilized to extinguish the fire and prevent further releases. Helicopters drop sand, lead, and other materials to contain the fire. 2:15 a.m., a meeting of local Soviet officials is conducted to make a plan for how to move forward, controlling the narrative and slowing the flow of information coming out of the plant. 5 a.m., officials shut down plant number 3, followed by plants 1 and 2 later in the day. 6:35 a.m., the fire at the reactor site is largely contained, but the release of radioactive material into the atmosphere continues. April 27, 1986, 10 a.m., helicopters begin dumping sand, clay, boron, lead and dolomite into the burning core in an attempt to slow radioactive emissions. April 27, 2 p.m., plant management realizes the severity of the accident and begins evacuating nearby towns, starting with Pripyat. The narrative is that citizens will be allowed to return for their belongings within a few days. No one will return to the city of Pripyat. 12 a.m., April 27th, the initial fire at the reactor site is mostly extinguished, but radioactive releases continue. April 28, 1986, Swedish air monitors detect a large amount of radiation, which is traced back to the USSR. Soviet officials admit that there's been a small accident, and they falsely state the situation is already under control. The disaster was a result of a combination of critical design flaws in the RBMK reactor and human errors due to inadequate training and communication. The reactor's positive void coefficient, where heated coolant water led to increased reactivity instead of the usual decrease, caused uncontrollable power surges when steam bubbles formed. Additionally, the graphite-tipped control rods intended to slow down reactions temporarily increased reactivity upon insertion. The reactor's instability at low power levels exacerbated the situation. Operators lacked proper training to manage emergencies, leading to mishandling during a safety test. Communication issues between operators and engineers changing test plans without authorization contributed to confusion. A lax safety culture allowed deviations from safety protocols. This combination of technical inadequacies and human errors underscored the disaster's severity and emphasized the significance of robust reactor designs, comprehensive training, and a strong commitment to safety in nuclear facilities. The aftermath of the explosion in the weeks, months, and even years saw a series of innovative approaches and challenges, from the use of biorobots to the construction of containment structures and the global repercussions faced by the Soviet Union. Biorobots. Amidst the extreme radiation levels in the immediate aftermath, traditional methods like lunar rovers, bomb disposal vehicles, and even remote-controlled bulldozers typically used for cleanup were impractical. Thus, the deployment of biorobots, human workers equipped with minimal protective gear, became a dire necessity. These brave individuals, known as liquidators, were tasked with short-duration, high-risk assignments. Their heroic contributions involved tasks like clearing radioactive debris from rooftops and disposing of contaminated materials. These individuals were paid very little and sacrificed so much for their country. Workers would return home from a shift looking 15 years older due to the immense radiation exposure. Forest cleaning. Radiation contamination extended beyond urban areas. Forests surrounding Chernobyl became contaminated, and tackling this required innovative techniques. Helicopters, equipped with special attachments, sprayed a mixture known as liquidators bomb over the forests to suppress the spread of radioactive particles. Additionally, thousands of hectares of trees were marked and later bulldozed to prevent the wildfire spread of contamination. Construction of containment structures. The construction of the Chernobyl shelter, often referred to as the sarcophagus, stands as a testament to human resolve. This colossal structure was designed to encase the destroyed reactor, containing the spread of radioactive materials. Built under hazardous conditions, workers faced substantial radiation exposure while constructing the shelter. Its eventual completion in 1986 marked a milestone in the containment effort. Tunnel and cooling measures. In addition to the sarcophagus, engineers recognized the need to prevent groundwater contamination. A tunnel was constructed beneath the reactor to divert cooling water, preventing the further spread of radioactive substances. This innovative solution showcased the urgent need for engineering adaptations to address unanticipated challenges in containment. International consequences. The Chernobyl disaster not only had environmental and health consequences but also led to a global public relations crisis for the Soviet Union. The initial attempt to downplay the severity of the accident hindered international assistance and coordination. The subsequent revelation of the disaster's true magnitude led to questions about transparency and accountability. In conclusion, the cleanup efforts after the Chernobyl disaster represented a remarkable feat of human tenacity, innovation, and cooperation. The use of biorobots, forest cleaning, tunnel construction, and containment structure creation showcased the resilience of those tasked with mitigating the catastrophe's aftermath. Furthermore, the public relations embarrassment faced by the Soviet Union highlighted the importance of open communication in handling such crises. The legacy of Chernobyl continues to underscore the vital importance of nuclear safety, international collaboration, and the unyielding spirit of those who rise to confront unimaginable challenges. To this day, the official death toll is counted at 31, only citing the deaths directly linked to the disaster. However, it is unknown about the sacrifice from the liquidators. Estimates range from 830,000 people who helped in the efforts to clean up Chernobyl and the surrounding area. Of the 830,000, 40,000 of them have received cancerous diagnostics. We will never know the true sacrifice of this event. In April 2006, Gorbachev wrote, "The nuclear meltdown at Chernobyl 20 years ago this month, even more than my launch of perestroika, was perhaps the real cause of the collapse of the Soviet Union." Thank you for joining us on this adventure. We're excited to keep exploring with you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. We'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas for future videos, so drop them in the comments below.